This project was called Time is Money, but what does that mean, and what is this project all about? Well, time is money means that the time you take working or learning something has the same value as money. For this project, we had to create a product or sell a service. With the income, time, and cost from doing this, we were going to put that data onto a graph to analyze what the future of the business would look like. For our first milestone, we needed to decide a product or service. I had the idea of pressure washing because my family already has a pressure washer at home. I would need to get some soap for certain things I'd pressure wash. I now knew what my service was going to be, and I could move on to milestone 2. For milestone 2, we needed to create a spreadsheet to track the data for our service. This data includes the sale price, expenses, time, and startup cost. My plan was to make $15 per hour for pressure washing. The only thing I would need to buy for my expenses was the soap, which was about $10. Now that I had my important data down, it was time to complete the service and start writing down my equation for the linear graph. For my equation, I had to find out what the 3 variables x, y, and b would look like for my graph. The x represents the time that I had worked, the y represents the total earnings I have made from working, and b represents my expenses. In my case, that would be the soap that I'm using. Now that I've completed my equation, it was time to graph all of the information. For the final milestone, we had to graph the information we just collected. We used this cool app called Desmos to help put everything on the graph. Once I put my equation from milestone 3 onto the graph, I could see how much my business would make in the future. It showed a linear relation. The x-axis is at the bottom of the graph, which represents, in my case, per 3 hours worked. The y-axis is at the sideline of the graph, which represents how much I've made in those 3 hours. There's also b, which represents the expenses which I subtracted from the y. From graphing that, you can now see a linear relationship. From the blue line, you can see the amount of money that I'd make if I were to continue doing this job in the future. From this project, I've learned that graphing data can really help to see the future of the business. All you need are 3 different variables, and you can accurately track how much money you'd make in the future.